Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Mobile Domination Podcast. My name is Dan Hafner. I am your host here. Welcome into the show. This is going to be a really fun episode. We are talking with another special guest of mine. His name is Logan Shippy. I'll go through the rundown here in a second. We were just talking before we got on here, and this is going to be really fun. I think as the world changes, as we advance with technology, a lot of us tend to either embrace it or resist it. I've seen this personally with a lot of clients. You know, I see a lot of people in the not to put down anyone, but in the older generations who are a little more resistant to things. But the goal of today's episode is to really kind of dive into this and talk about the advantages, the insights, the edges that you can get in business with this. We're going to talk specifically about SaaS, software as a service. So Logan is the guy to talk to here. So Logan Shippy is he's an entrepreneur who's gotten, he calls it lucky quite a few times. He's built multiple companies to millions per year in sales, but he's seems like a very down to earth, ready to go guy. His primary skill sets and strengths are in marketing and sales. But he's also a kind of a tech guy like me, it seems a little bit. So let's dive into this with Logan. How you doing, Logan? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing great, man. As I was telling you, I got a lot of stuff going on today, so I'm just happy that I could make it here on time. A lot of great things going on with tech, with e-commerce. My businesses vary, but they're all in the digital space. The world has definitely gone from more of like a brick and mortar to click and order type of environment. So I'm excited to jump on here and share some knowledge and experience with all of your listeners.
Oh, I like that. Brick and mortar to click and order. I never heard that one. That's a good one.
Hey, you already got some sauce. We're like 30 seconds into the podcast.
There you go. So first of all, how do you identify? I know you have a lot of different things going on. I know when you had reached out to me, you said that you ran a SaaS called True Fans. Which is really interesting. So is that kind of your main gig going on right now? Or you guys, or do you have anything else?
Yeah. So for me on a day-to-day basis, my primary kind of time is spent in marketing and sales and thinking of different systems from outreach to conversion sequences, all sorts of different things. But yeah, I don't necessarily just focus all of my time and energy on True Fans. And there's a reason why, is because I built out departments that focus on various tasks that need to get done. We have our developers, which develop features, functionality, and really what we have today is a product, which is a platform that helps influencers monetize. That's what True Fans is. And then I built out an outreach department that's on social media, reaching out to influencers every single day, getting them interested. And then we have demo calls that are being booked. And then I have a team that jumps on demo calls. And then I focus on like the marketing materials, stuff that we can post online to showcase how our platform is cool. We fly out influencers and do marketing shoots with them and stuff, and just really kind of capture those stories. But you know, in the beginning phases with True Fans, definitely I was like really hands-on. It took about 6 months of development in that range to come up with the minimum sellable product. This was 2019, mid 2019. And then we launched in 2020, right before the pandemic. And a lot of people got destroyed, right, during the pandemic, but it was actually a blessing for us because our platform is all about helping influencers more so become entrepreneurs to make consistent and predictable income online, because a lot of these influencers, they don't really make that much money. They may have 10,000 followers, 100,000 followers, but they're stuck doing these brand deals. They don't realize that they are the product, you know, like social media is using them. Their social media is monetizing off of them, but they're not monetizing their social media. So we are that bridge between kind of helping influencers not just stay influencers, but become the entrepreneurs and make money online. So yeah, it took about 6 months of development to get it to the point where we could launch it. And then it was like, I'm a firm believer that the biggest room is the room for improvement. So looking back at our first iteration, I'm like, ooh, cringe, you know, but still it was good. We were happy with it back then. But since we upgraded the UI, the UX, the features, the functionality, you know, we started talking to the thousands of creators that use our platform. It became very easy to engineer things that made us that much better. And now I think that we are the best platform in the market, hands down. And we're just going to continue to improve.
Wow, that's a really cool story. I mean, I just kind of going back to how you talked about that. Um, I mean, that's really incredible when you talk about how you actually built departments and an entire ecosystem and an entire multi-million dollar business around a single product like that. Like you said,
And
like
did it during a pandemic, bro. We did it during one of the craziest times on earth. And that goes to show you the power of technology. Because think about this right now. We're on this podcast. We're talking on Zoom and we're able to have this conversation. During the pandemic, that was not possible to have face-to-face meetings, or you'd have to be masked up and everyone, the hysteria and all that stuff. Whereas like Zoom came through and they're just a technology that made it possible for people to communicate and still continue doing business. And they were ultra valuable. So they were solving a complex problem. Therefore, they got paid. Their stock went up crazy amounts. And so, we're solving the bigger the problem, the bigger the paycheck. And I kind of view what we've built at TrueFans as more so the PayPal of content. Like I don't care about necessarily what I care about is helping influencers make money. And we don't make money off of advertising. Like that's not how our platform works. We make money off of transactions. We take 20% out of every transaction. So that's why I'm saying we're like the PayPal of content, because how does PayPal make money? They make money off transactions. So the same thing goes here. We don't want to have crazy algorithms, where your content doesn't show up to 90% of your users and only 10% see your shit. Like, no, we want that content to be pushed to your followers, to your fans. We don't want crazy censorship. We want freedom of speech. We want all the things that everyone wants social media to be, but plus the ability to monetize that content and your fan base, right? So, but again, going back to it, man, looking back, like telling you this story, because I don't often tell it, it does put it in perspective, like how far we've come. And I mean, realistically, like a year and a half.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? It's funny. I've actually talked to a few people lately who have seemed like a lot of people started a business in like January 2020. I mean, it's like when I started my business, like all of this stuff, like I don't know what was going on in the world at that point in time that just made everyone want to start a business. But that's very, very interesting. So let me ask you this. I had another person on here, or it was in a summit that I did a long time ago. And he said something that stuck with me ever since. And he said, technology is the hardest money you'll ever make. Right. He's like, you could go be a massage therapist and make more money sometimes than doing this stuff. Right. It can really, really be tough. Do you agree with that? And as kind of a
Yeah.
follow-up to that, like what have you learned in your journey of being in tech your whole life to make that work?
Well, yeah, definitely can be difficult. I'm not sure what your setup is, but we have over 35 developers. I don't own these developers, or not W-2 employees. They have a pre-existing operation, but we've created a joint venture together and we've built multiple platforms for us personally. And then also, and I say platforms, I mean SaaSes, apps, for various companies, influencers. Again, some of these platforms that we built for our own companies, like when I say our own companies, I mean things that I actively market, that my face is tied to, my business partner's face is tied to. Like these are LLCs or companies that we own, and then we built technology for them that have done millions a year, in sales. And then there's other platforms, right, that we've built for other people, and now we're branching into even like government level projects using that same team. And it's just this crawl, walk, run process to get to that point. But yeah, it's super challenging. Like in the beginning, before I met this team of developers, we probably wasted at least 50 or 60 grand on bad devs. And when I say bad devs, I'm not going to just put all of the blame on them, because there could have been better things from a project management standpoint. We could have, cut the cancer faster, if you will, cut the fat sooner. If things weren't working out, like what you hire slow, fire fast, right? So if something isn't working out, a lot of people will just try to just throw more money at it and throw more money at it and throw more money at it. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that. Like I was on a call with a guy the other day who went through that same problem that I did. He was about 50 or 60 grand in to a project, and it wasn't where he wanted to be. And he felt like the devs weren't doing their job right. And I'm like, man, this sounds like exactly what I went through a few years back, when I say a few, probably about 5 years ago. So yeah, from challenging if you don't necessarily everything's going to be challenging in the beginning. It's like, you got to build that muscle, that brain muscle of like how to come up with a good idea for a SaaS and app. And then like the development muscle of, putting it together. And then once you do it a couple of times, it becomes easier and easier and easier because you know what to expect. You have the end in mind before you even start. But again, starting something is always going to be somewhat difficult. So then you add in the financial component, like, okay, I'm putting my money into this, or maybe you have someone else's money if you're raising money. But yeah, that process of finding good developers at a good price point that can really build quality projects, super tough to find that. And then, comes the execution of once it's built, then you got to put bodies in the system. You got to put people on the platform. And a lot of people have good tech, but they don't have good marketing, and they don't understand how to sell. Like, what does the consumer ultimately want to see? And a lot of people like market, they're too technical. They're not selling the story. They're not tugging on those emotional strings, to get people to want to really check it out. So, that's where I really shine from a marketing and sales perspective. I understand what people want to see. So if you looked at, building software, because from the outside, it's like, wow, Logan, you've built these companies that have done millions of dollars a year. You must be really technical. No, I'm not. Yeah. I have guys in my corner, like my business partner, Tim. He is more so the project manager. We come up with ideas together. He relays that information to the developers and works with them hand in hand to build. And then I come up with the marketing and sales strategies and building systems around that to move the needle to bring in revenue to our companies.
Yeah, I sound like the Tim in your business. That's kind of more my role.
Everyone needs a Tim, bro.
Everyone
That's
needs
what
a
I tell.
Tim, yeah.
Everyone needs a Timmy.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to make a quick plug for myself because you like segued so great into that, and then I have a follow-up question for you. So what he talked about was really, really interesting, right? Like this 50 to 60 grand in debt that you can get into, and still end up with something that's not like what you want, right? And that's really what I've built Dapper Mobile Apps to be inside of the no code space, is that you can get something, even a prototype, up for like a tenth of that cost, right? And actually get something out there working a lot faster to just get proof of concept, whether you want to go raise funding, whether you want to eventually go into custom building that thing. It really is. And that's the area of development that I've been super passionate about and built my business around, is this no code space for exact reasons as Logan just outlined, right? So I actually have a cool thing. Probably by the time this podcast comes out, I'm going to actually dive deep into the benefits, the pros, the cons of all the no code stuff out there. So I'll update you guys on that. But just as a follow up, Logan, I actually had an interesting experience with a client recently, and it was around this topic of kind of what you talked about of like, hey, I built this app, this platform, this SaaS, whatever, and I really want it to be. They almost wanted it to be like level, like release 14 by the time it was originally released, because she, in her mind, she said, hey, I only have one shot when I'm marketing this. If I'm pushing people into this platform, I have one shot to make a first impression, which is true, right? You only have one chance to make a first impression. But her thought process was, well, hey, if I don't produce this awesome, expensive product out of the gate, it's going to be a flop. It's going to fail. It's not going to work. And what I tried to kind of counter her with was, hey, you might not need to do that. You have multiple chances. That's what repetitive marketing's for. So I'm interested, like, what side of the fence would you fall on if you were building, like with True Fans, maybe, right? Did you guys actually have to have it perfectly well done, ready to go out the gate? Or did you kind of have more of an MVP first?
Definitely an MVP. Okay. Something that I've adopted over time, as far as philosophy goes, is done is better than perfect, because the pursuit of perfection it's never ending, and a lot of people, they have such high standards that the market may not have those same standards. When I look at the first version of True Fans that we launched, it looks like dog shit to me now, to be completely honest with you. But people still made money with it. Like, we didn't have the cool UI UX that was similar to Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and, like that whole kind of feel, which then we later upgraded to. We didn't have that. We had a third of the features and we were still doing 30, 40, 50,000 a month, with that. And then over time, as we upgraded, then it started getting to the, 6-figure months and beyond. So, and it's a compounding effect, as people use your platform, they have a good experience. And again, keep in mind, no one's going to, a lot of times you, the owner of the platform, you're going to beat yourself up more than anyone else. Someone else is like, oh, this is cool. It works. I can make money with it, or it provides me some type of value depending on what your platform does. They're not going to be as much of a critic as you, because this is your baby, and again, like the biggest room is the room for improvement. We can always get better, but you have to start somewhere. So I'm personal philosophy is I don't want to launch things that aren't good. But there's a process to go from good to great. And you can make money with good, right? You can make money with good, but you can make millions with great. And there also comes a point in time where things are overdone. Like if you look at Instagram and Facebook, like a lot of these platforms, what they did before was almost kind of better in a lot of people's minds. So there comes a point in time where, people just think, oh, if I develop more features and more features and more features, it's going to be, I'm going to make more money with this thing. But in reality, it almost may take away. You should work on, I don't know, almost listening to your clientele, your user base, and figuring out what they really want, and then just develop around that. That's what we've done really well. Not just coming up with these features that we think are going to be good, but again, listening to the people and not trying to just throw all this shit at the wall and figure out what works. Like with all, because again, you see so many features on these platforms. It's like, it's overwhelming. Sometimes less is more. So I like simplicity. I believe that when a confused mind does nothing, like it just looks at something and goes, I don't know what to do here, so I'm not going to do anything. If you can make a simple onboarding sequence, you have a few core features of your platform and then a few other ones that are maybe like kind of more advanced, that's going to create users using the platform. And then again, depending on how your platform works, generate money or advertising dollars, whatever, So that's that. Again, going back to it, done is better than perfect, but I will not launch shit products. I will launch good products and make them great over time. And I think that, you should have a 3 to 5 year plan to make something great at minimum. So we're, January 2020 launch. It's July of 2022 now. So we're a couple years into this thing. And, I can't wait for the next couple years what we're going to turn this into. Right, by year 5, True Fans is going to be a beast. Right now it's like a Charmander versus a Charizard. Like you got to level up. It evolves over time.
I like that. That's funny. No, it actually is. I mean, it's a really cool platform. I was checking it out, and you guys should check it out too. It's True Fans. How do you spell it again? TRUFANZ.
Yeah, it's truefans with a Z.com.
With a Z.com. Yeah, check that out for sure. And yeah, I just want to be clear. Like I wasn't advocating for any of you guys listening, not to you, Logan, but like, I wasn't advocating like, hey, let's just throw something together and throw it out there. It was like you said, it was like, let's make something that's good and gets the job done and solves the problem that you're looking to solve, and then launch it. Right. You don't have to be
getting the job done is more important than like all the fancy bells and whistles. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think there's less room for perfectionism in that stage. And I've seen it too much. And it's just like something that I'm still learning how to coach clients through that. Cause I mean, I'm like that too. Sometimes I'm not as much of a perfectionist as I probably should be. I probably actually could use more of that in my life. But there's some I've just been like, okay, look, you gotta take what you got right now and you gotta go with it and make it happen. So that's interesting. Oh, there was something I was going to ask you. Now I completely went on a tangent.
Here, give me 1 second.
Yeah, no worries. That's what it was. I came back to me now. All right. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, if I want to start a SaaS company, I have a business, or I have, a service-based product and I want to transition it into a software as a service, right? Because that helps me leverage time. I can just fulfill those things. And it's just not tied to my time. I can scale that infinitely, right? Like what is do you recommend like getting a technical partner? Do you need a development agency? Do you need to learn how to do it yourself? Like what have you seen in all your time of doing it that
Mhm.
that works, at least at some level?
Yeah. So we've been offering our team as like a assistance to different entrepreneurs or companies that want to build tech. That is not where I make the bulk of my income, right? It's more so of a thing where if I can help friends, people within my network build cool tech, that leads into more potential business down the road. Um, we've built technology and when I say tech, I mean like apps and SaaS. We're currently building out an app for a friend of mine who has an e-commerce business where he gets product from uh, like liquidators, and he actually wholesales that product to his clientele. So he's kind of the middleman between like a supplier of product or a liquidator, and then he gets in bulk. He's buying millions of dollars worth of the product, even on a monthly basis, and then he's making a nickel and a dime on these products as he's selling them back to his clientele. So he wanted an app that would allow him to plug like a client portal for his people to log into, see what products are available. They could, click on an item, see the specs on it, reserve that item, how many units, et cetera. So that's for the e-commerce space. Another technology that we're building, it's an app for a friend of mine that runs a credit and funding business. So they help clients get 0% capital from Amex and Chase and all these different creditors and banks. And they wanted a really simple system for their clients to plug into that would almost be like a Domino's pizza tracker type system where
Hmm.
they could see exactly where they're at in the process. Like, hey, your applications have been submitted to Amex. We submitted for these cards. You were approved for these cards at the next step. Here are the amounts. Here are the benefits of these cards. And so it's almost a timeline slash Domino's pizza tracker style app that their clients can download and really just see progress as the service unfolds, right? And there's just different technologies that can be built for different businesses. That whole Domino's pizza tracker style app, the timeline, if you will, the roadmap for a client, that's applicable in a lot of different businesses. So anyway, just we've been in a position to where, give me one second, my 3-year-old son's walking through. One sec.
No worries.
I'm assuming we'll edit that out.
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
cool. So, so yeah, like I would say that a lot of companies can leverage the same base of technology. A lot of features are applicable to, so example, that tracker type app that could be applicable to a lot of different service-based businesses, to give a client an idea of where they're at in the process. And so we're, as our developers are building out technology for us and other people, they also are becoming more skilled. So it's this really cool process to where like we're learning more on how to develop technology for companies and influencers more efficiently, and we know what's going to work versus what's not going to work. And yeah, so again, going back to it, as far as give me one second, man, my 3-year-old. All right, so yeah, as we've built out different types of apps and SaaSes, we become more efficient at the process of building and identifying key features that would be really good for that particular business. A lot of these businesses could use a lot of the same underlying features. Giving an example, that tracker type, feature could be used in a variety of businesses, from e-commerce to credit and funding to you name it, right? And so we become more efficient in the building process as we build more products for influencers and companies. But yeah, I mean, as far as the starting process, we build a lot of technologies for like low side 10, 15 grand, and then higher side 50,000 to 100,000. And then, we're working with actually the state of Indiana right now on a project, and that's going to be 6 figures plus. And so, but just, it really depends on the idea and, how amazing you want the platform to be. There's just so many different variables with technology and building apps, SaaSes. If you want both an app in the app store versus just an online platform.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that exploring the possibilities for your business is never going to hurt, whether you're working with a team like us or you or whoever, right? Like, explore. And then I would definitely say get some estimates from different people, explore the opportunities of working with stateside developers. If you're building with code, right? Like for us, we own our code. That's ours. That's our asset. It's no one else's. Like what you do is really cool too. If you can do it with no code and kind of get a fast product out there to prove concept, that's dope. That's great. But there's going to be different teams that charge different amounts. I've found that working with a lot of US developers, they have the credentials, but a lot of them lack the execution and they charge a lot of money. Whereas I've worked with, overseas developers, our devs are in India. And although, maybe an average person couldn't deal with language barriers a little bit, accents, time frames, whatever, we've just figured out how to work, and we are efficient with building technology at an extremely low cost that is just as good or way better than I've experienced US developers, so I know. But yeah, so it's just, again, it all depends on what you want, how fast you want it, how much you want to spend. These are all variables, but there are plenty of teams out there that can build what you ultimately want. You just have to take that step forward.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's really good stuff. Speaking of that, I have a new cool tool for you guys listening. It's actually an app cost calculator I put together. So you can do all that kind of stuff like that. So you can go and actually click like, hey, I want an app or I want a web app, and I need it to have Facebook login. I need it to have all these other cool bells and whistles. So I put that all together for you guys. So I'll definitely hook you guys up with that. So just one more question for you. I'm just really interested. I know you have a lot of different stories you could have told through, your whole journey and stuff like that. But I guess my last question, like if you had to look back and look at like the biggest lesson you've learned inside of any SaaS product, any client project that you've ever done, maybe it was based on a mistake or something that went well or whatever. What was like the biggest, most valuable lesson that you've ever learned?
It was probably that $50,000 mistake that I told you about earlier, where we were working with a development team and things weren't going our way, and we were optimistic that things would get better, but they weren't. And just being more intuitive. Like if you have that feeling, that little voice telling you this isn't working out, maybe you should listen to that. Then maybe you should talk to, if it's just you got to listen to your own intuition there. If it's, you got a partner, talk to that partner and really talk about it. Like, hey, is this working out? Or are we so emotionally invested that we're willing to throw money at this thing that isn't working? There's a whole psychological theory behind that. I forget what it is. It's some type of like fallacy where you're just basically, you throw money at the losers because you're already losing. And it's like, more money is going to solve the problem. No, talent is going to solve the problem.
Like a sunken cost theory or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Like people, if a stock drops like by 50%, people throw more money at it. And it's like, don't try to catch the falling knife. That's a huge problem. Wait, like, or in this case, don't wait, pull the plug, because maybe you're, 30 grand in and it's not working out. Well, you're going to spend another 30 to find out it really didn't freaking work out. And you could have spent that other 30 with a better development team that really could have brought your idea to life and helped you launch it. And it actually works.
No, that's a good one. That's a really, really good one. I like that. And what I think you said before, it was hire slow, fire fast, right? Yeah, that's a good one. All right. All right, cool. Well, we appreciate you having you on the show, Logan. I think this has been really useful, really insightful. A lot of cool stuff here that I definitely want to go back and re-listen to this and just kind of take some nuggets from this. We talked about a lot of cool stuff. So, anyways, I'll give you one last shot. You can tell us where we go to find out more. or even just, connect with you in any way possible.
Yeah, for sure. So as far as, software development goes, if you guys are interested, like I think it's complementary to what you do, because your type of business model is more so getting that proof of concept out there, helping them at a cheap cost. But maybe someone doesn't want to like really own their code and, have a little bit more control over that process, and work with a team of devs. We're always open to just network and see if we could help bring an idea to life, help you, and not only just like help you build, but also consult with like launch strategies and whatnot, just things that I've learned along the way to build companies that are doing. I have multiple companies that are netting, or grossing millions a year. And, I won't go into the nets, but we don't want the IRS to enter the chat. You know what I mean? But anyway, yeah. So always open to, work with people that have ideas, and they are hustlers. It's like building an app and technology is not necessarily going to be this easy thing. So you got to have, you got to put some sweat equity in. But anyway, if you want to follow me on social media, learn more, you can follow me on Instagram. My only Instagram is it's Logan Shippy, ITS Logan Shippy. All the other ones are scam accounts. I have a YouTube. You can just look up Logan Shippy. You'll see stuff that I do with e-commerce and software. And then, yeah, man, that's really about it. And I just appreciate the opportunity to jump on here with you and talk some tech.
Yeah, it was good. It was really fun. So I hope you guys got a lot about this. Thank you again, Logan, for coming on. And yeah, I mean, there's so many cool things. I could have asked him a whole bunch more. I like to keep these about a half hour. But SaaS really is, he kind of nailed it right at the end. It's not, a lot of people go into it, I see, thinking it's going to be this quick thing. I just have this one simple concept. And a lot of times it's a lot more complicated. There's a lot of things. It's almost like the iceberg analogy. There's, there's the 10% you see, the 90% you don't see. But that's kind of why people like Logan and I exist, to help you guys through this, to help you think through it, to almost consult and kind of help you avoid hitting that 90% and being the Titanic that sinks your app. So I definitely encourage you guys, if you are thinking about any kind of SaaS, you can definitely contact Logan. You can contact me. We're definitely in two separate worlds. So there's not really any kind of competition there or anything. I mean, I've actually partnered with a lot of people where people come to me with ideas that are way more advanced than I can pull off, and I refer them to people like Logan. And then I've had people like Logan actually come to me and ask, like, hey, this person doesn't have the budget for this $100,000 project. Can you work with them? So there's definitely ways that, everyone can work together and get their product out there and start making money. So, all right, guys, I appreciate all of you. Thank you again for listening to the Mobile Domination Podcast. Please rate and review us on Apple or Spotify. Really appreciate that. And share the show with anyone that you think might get value out of this. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Talk to you next time. Until then, see you later.